Hello, and welcome to the first official episode of the C Suite Mama podcast. I'm your host, Chantel Campbell, or Shay. And today, my very first guest is my good friend, Crystal Rodriguez-Dabney. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so honored that you had me for the first one.
Oh,
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. Crystal is so amazing. In her current role, she's the Senior Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer at Roswell Park Cancer Institute here in Western New York. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you ended up there.
So I am the Chief Diversity Officer. I'm the first one at this level, the Senior Vice President level. There's always been someone in the diversity role at Roswell, but I came to Roswell and I get to build the plan and the program for diversity, which is really what attracted me to Roswell.
Yeah.
Dr. Candace Johnson, when she selected me, one of the things we talked about was would I have free reign to build the program, and she gave me that. So, since joining Roswell, it's been an interesting adventure.
Yeah.
We've had a report that was released. A lot of people looked at that negative, but I looked at that as a positive when I took the job, because here was an organization that actually hired out to say, tell us what's wrong, right? So that began with that, and that's what I've been doing, is addressing the recommendations in that report. Or at the end, I'm getting ready to bring on an investigator, and now I get to the good stuff, the actual program and culture, and talking to people and getting in the organization and really mapping out what we need. So
That's awesome.
that's my first senior vice president job at this level.
This is not your first chief.
It's not. It's not
though.
my first chief position. So I was the city of Buffalo's first chief diversity officer. So, but even before that, I was the executive director for the Commission on Citizens' Rights and Community Relations, which is a ridiculously long title, but the human rights arm of the city.
Yeah.
And that's really, I can't say that's where it began, because even before that, in law school, I knew that I always wanted to do something to advocate for the underdog.
I love it.
And then, so I started out of law school. As far as my journey is concerned, I started out of law school. Well, actually, in law school, I met this man who I thought was completely delusional, Senator Byron Brown. He was running for mayor, and he said, I'm going to be mayor. And I was like, Buffalo ain't about to elect no black mayor. But he said, send me your resume. I said, okay. And true to his word, when he was elected, he called me, and I started out as his executive assistant, took the bar, left the city for a little while, and did a fellowship, clerkship with the 8th Judicial District. Sharon Townsend was the administrative judge at the time. And then that's when I went back to the Commission on Citizens' Rights and Community Relations, and was there for I can't even remember how many years, but in 2016 was appointed the city's first chief diversity officer. So it was really important to me, MWBE, at that point, building and executing the opportunity pledge.
Mm-hmm.
That was signing on people to private organizations saying that they would be committed. I was one of the founding members of the Racial Equity Roundtable. And then I left and went to a state to be the chief of staff to the president, and kind of thought I was done with chief diversity roles.
Mm-hmm.
And then was named chief diversity officer when I was chief of staff to the president.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had dual roles there. And then, like an episode of The Godfather, when I thought it was out, they brought me back in, after the contentious election in 2021. But after that, the mayor brought me back to be his chief of staff and and deputy mayor.
It's another dual role.
Another dual role, yes. And was there. Kind of thought that I would finish it out. And then Roswell came knocking.
And an opportunity too good to refuse.
Yes.
So I have so many questions that are flowing around right now, but let's walk back to your first leadership role at the city. So I think you said that was your executive director position. You were a mom at that point too.
I was a mom during law school. So, I
Wow.
I was a single mom during law school, 3 boys, Ryan, Kyle, and Evan.
Wow.
Yep, I was a mom. So when I took on that role, I was a mom too.
So tell us a little bit, from that point and through now, what have been some of the challenges that you've navigated with both parenting and kind of climbing the ladder?
Balance. Balance is
Yeah.
a big thing, right? And sacrifice. I've had to sacrifice a couple of things. Thank God for a support system, but to be at things, I had to miss things with my boys. Didn't always feel good.
Yeah.
Even looking back, talking to them now, Ryan's about to be 30. Oh my God, Ryan's about to be 30. Kyle's 26. Evan's 23. But looking back, that certain things that I missed. There were games that I missed. There were different things at school that I missed. But as a mom and as a woman, especially in a male-dominated setting, you're expected to show up. You got to be 3 times better in it. As a mom, a woman of color, and being in a predominantly male arena, you have to show up probably 3 times as much than your male counterparts just to even get where they are.
Right.
So it was always balance. And then when I say sacrifice, also too, I look back and I wish I had adopted what I have now, but putting self-care first. I didn't take care of myself. Had some health challenges, some serious health challenges, but because it was always work. But I'm in a place now where I can't even be a great senior vice president or chief diversity officer if I don't take care of me. So I have to prioritize me.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, busy woman, we have our calendars look ridiculous. It's like a game of Tetris looking at a calendar.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about what's your operational process for prioritizing self-care? Walk us through your normal day.
I schedule it just like I schedule meetings. So my team meetings are important. Answering emails are important. You put those things on the schedule. You're important. I made sure, even though this didn't happen on my calendar today, I wanted to make sure I made it happen. But I schedule my self-care. I schedule my time for myself because I used to think of it as a reward, but now I think of it, I can't be me without that time.
100%.
So I actually put it in, and I put it on my calendar, and nobody needs to know my business, but I block, and it'd be like
a little private.
Crystal time, right?
Yep.
Exactly. I'm a private meeting. And I choose different things. Some weeks it might be a massage. Some weeks it's my nails. And I've actually got out of a matured nails is not self-care. I need to be pretty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's given.
Just part of it because
Right.
we're in the public.
Exactly.
We're in meetings, so you got to be presentable. I don't count that as my self-care
I don't.
time either.
Exactly.
I don't
I've gotten to the point where I'm
it.
like, I don't. I'm like, I got to get my nails done.
Right.
But, I like to have downtime. My facials, my massages. Sometimes it's, I've gotten into the infrared sauna. What is the best way? But I'm going to buy you that certificate then.
Okay.
I go out and I sit there, and it's cleansing, and it's purging, and it's great for my skin. It's great for my hair. It's great for my body. But I also just sit there and I think about nothing. So that's my time to turn my brain off. And I'm big on sleep now too.
Okay, so let's talk about that because I feel like that's a conversation that I've been having with my girlfriends a lot lately about sleep hygiene. How did you get to being disciplined in that way? I tell myself, okay, we're not going to look at the phone or,
I turn it off. I do downtime on my phone. So that's not going to be, that's just been in Roswell because when I was deputy mayor, it was no turning off the phone. There was no such thing. That's 24/7. But I was not getting my sleep. And I noticed as soon as I wasn't getting my sleep, what did I do? I snacked. And when I snacked, I gained weight. And you and I talked about this because you were talking about my dress. And I was like, my dresses aren't fitting the way I want my dresses to fit.
Well, you look fabulous.
But I've actually, since leaving City Hall again, it's like I leave City Hall, I lose weight. But, I get into that groove. But you have to have your sleep because you're not going to be thinking correctly. You're not going to be feeling good. You're not going to be, your body's not going to be. So I get my 7 to 8 hours, and I'm light skinned, so I can't have them dark circles under my eyes. So I am going to go to sleep, and I only have one at home. Nadia is left at home. Thank God, she loves to sleep too. So
It's quiet time. I love that. So one of the things that I said in the beginning of the podcast is yes, the C-suite mama, we focus on women who are already in these positions, but we also want to provide a safe space and community for ladies who don't have the roadmap or don't have folks to kind of look to
Right.
for what that path looks like. What would you recommend for that ambitious mother? She might be a single mom, or maybe
Sure.
she's a married mom, but
whatever.
a mom nonetheless who wants to climb the ladder. Where does she start? Who should she be connecting with? Like, what would that journey look like for someone who doesn't know?
So I'm a big believer, you and Jamil know this, in the law of attraction, right? If you can see yourself there, you attract what you are, and you attract, you have to have experiences in your life that project what you want to be. Find someone, and they may not be in the actual job, but the person who has that level of success that you want to be at, and really look at how they got there. What are some of the things that they did?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that, the law of attraction is all fruitful and it's easy, but it does provide a blueprint for the work that you need to do. And there is an investment.
Yeah.
Look at yourself as, and you are your greatest investment, right? So if there's more classes or more education that's needed, invest in that. That's money well spent in yourself. Find yourself a mentor. Get you a mentor, and really be particular about the people you select to mentor you. I'm particular about my mentees, but I've also been very particular about the mentors that I selected. The energy, if the energy is off and the energy doesn't match and the vibe doesn't match, it's not going to work.
So let's pause and talk about the mentorship piece a little bit, because I think people hear like, oh, you need a mentor, but don't necessarily know where to start. So me, I was just a bit radical where I would just decide, like, I would tell somebody, oh, you're mine.
You're mine. I adopted you. Right.
And so that has worked out for me. But how, a young woman who might not be as bold to take that step, how do they approach someone, find someone? What should they be doing? What spaces should they be in?
But you got to be that bold, right? You got to, and even if it's just following them on social media, following their career, but you got to show up for yourself. Yes. I mean, I don't know how to, if you really want to get to that level, then you're going to have to find people at that level, and you're going to have to find your voice to be able to say, I'd like to attend this, or I'd like to know if I can come and work with you, or I'd like to come to your event. You're going to have to find that voice.
I love it.
Yeah.
You were talking about coming to events. Like, I feel like you are a master networker. For folks who might not kind of be familiar with that or know where to start with networking, what are some of your processes when you are out and it's like networking time?
Girl, I'm like the equalizer. First of all, let me say, I am not an extrovert. I think people see me and they think I'm an extrovert. Not actually an ambivert. I love my alone time. I don't like, it's work.
Yeah.
Talking to people. Now, it's valuable work, but I recognize it's work. Yeah. So I get into a room and I will literally set a clock and press a button and be like, I'm going to go around, I'm going to talk to that person, 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 and then I'm going to be out.
I love it.
So
do you normally have a game plan? Like, is it something that you're working on that you want to talk to people about and you kind of have some intentions, or is it you just want to meet someone new? What's your approach?
It depends on who's there, but both.
Okay.
So if it's somebody I want to see or somebody I need to talk to, then I need to get there and talk to them. Sometimes it's asking somebody, and this is another thing in terms of finding a voice. Can you introduce me to such and such, right? Because they know them. But it's usually talking, and it depends on what the goal is. What is the event, right? Do I want to talk to them about what they're doing and how I can be a part of that? Or is it that I want to talk to them about what I'm doing in my career and how I'd like them to be a part of that? Yeah. But sometimes it's just a matter of, I wanted to get to know you. And so I want to build this relationship, and it's not a conversation immediately or initially about how I want to be involved, but it's just, I wanted to introduce you to me, or I wanted to be introduced to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first step is just showing up and being in the room.
Showing up. And sometimes it's in scheduling. But part of that is balance too, right? There are those weeks where I have something every night. I hate those weeks. I try to balance the following week where I'm not going to have that much. So I could be at home with Nadia. So I can be spending time with Nadia, and I could just be at home.
Yes. I literally just had this conversation with my colleague today, because this week has been like every single night something. And I got asked, oh, can you go wherever? I don't even remember what it was, next Tuesday. And I'm like, no, I have been gone every night.
But that's a point too. Getting this far, I have had to learn how to say no.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
The importance of saying no, not just with your schedule, but other things. Like, how has that helped you in your career?
It's giving me more control. You know, when you feel the times where I felt most out of control are the times where I didn't speak up and I didn't say no. Not only no to events because of my schedule, but no to boards because I can't invest myself. Not just because I'm lazy, but because I'm not going to be able to give you all of me. So I have to say no at this point. No to the things that I don't want to do. No to the things that no longer serve me or don't serve me. No to the people where our energies don't match. Just no.
Yes. Because you can't really show up in your true power to really like excel in what you do. If you're
I shared it on Facebook just not like 5 minutes before I got here. It was this young lady and she was like, you know what? And I'm adopting this. I am no longer doing things that are not authentic.
I love that.
I am no longer doing things that don't make me feel okay, right?
No, we're not going anywhere.
I'm not going to be with people anymore where I'm like, you know, did this person really like me?
Someone shared like a TikTok about that. I saw that, and I don't want to question relationships, opportunities, like none of it.
No, 100%. If it's not ease, if it's not feeling good, and when I say ease, I'm not talking about just easy, right? Because you could be doing hard work, but if you enjoy it, it's ease, right? But no longer where there's no reciprocity. I'm not.
I love that.
Which is why when you said today, I'm like, how did this get on my calendar? But Chantel has always been there for me. I love you. And I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. I'm reciprocating. But I'm not doing that for people anymore where I call them and they're not able to be there for me. I'm not going to be in that space anymore.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that for us.
Yeah.
So talking about relationship and being there for people, that is a big reason why I started the C-Suite Mama community. You know, we've heard it said before that it's lonely at the top, right? And when I used to hear that, I would be like, that's just ridiculous. That's so negative. And then as you kind of ascend to a certain place, you realize not just because, you know, it's not a thing of you're too good.
No.
But it's really...
My circle is small intentionally.
The circle is small because it can be dangerous.
Exactly.
To have too many folks around. So talk a little bit about
a lot of people aren't mad at you. They mad it's you.
Yeah.
And so you got to be careful about that. Again, I've said this many times, energy. People will be around you because it's the cool thing to be, but they really don't want to see you be successful. They really don't mean you well. And it's not a like, oh, I have so many haters. It's, I don't know what people's intentions are in that, but I don't want that energy around me. And my circle is really small and I need people around me who understand. So going back to the being intentional about me time, being intentional about downtime, being intentional about saying no, I need people around me who, when I say no, they're still going to love me. Right.
Or if you don't text back right away, they understand she's probably in a meeting.
I don't need people around me. Why you didn't call me back right away? And it's like everything I have to manage. Now, I want to be better about connection. Right. But I want to be more intentional about connection. But I'm good with my circle.
I love it.
It's a dot now, but I'm okay with that.
How have you kind of curated your circle at this level? Because you are really, the organization that you work for it's an anchor institution here in our region. How at this level have you created your community of folks? And, not necessarily like a professional community, but just your core, like this is who I can go to. You can just be yourself. And
it's organic. It's been organic. And I'll tell you, a lot of the people that are those that are close to me, I've been able to be authentic. They know who Crystal was before Crystal was this Crystal, right? I mean, I'm still always Crystal, but not because I don't have people in my circle who are my friends or love me because I'm a senior vice president. They were with me when I was nothing, when I had nothing. I was just talking to one of my close friends the other day and he's, doing well too. And I was like, remember when it was so wonderful that we got paid on opposite weeks because I could borrow money from you and you could borrow money from me. And we joked about it. I was like, you need $40. He was like, I got you. But he knew me when it was like, listen, my license is about to get turned off. Can you help me? And then I got you next week. Right.
I love that.
Those people who remember that Crystal and remember how hard Crystal had to work to get here, not just people who are sort of opportunistic,
It's a lot of that.
Yeah, it's a lot of that.
So we spent a lot of time talking about the C-suite side of Crystal. Let's talk about the mama side of Crystal. So you said you have
proud mom.
from teenager to 30.
Yeah.
As much as you feel comfortable.
Sure,
tell
I
us
don't
a
mind.
little bit about
Don't mind
your
sharing.
kids, what they're up to, how you have kind of parented from the position of being in the C-suite, how they respond to all that. Just let's talk about the mom side.
Mom, my greatest accomplishment, I have to tell you. So I'll start with Nadia. Nadia's the youngest. Nadia's 14. She's a freshman, and she's this independent, opinionated, strong-willed bubble, and I don't know where that came from. Sometimes I look at her like, oh my God, what did I create? But was blessed with her. And then there's Evan. Evan is 23. He is serving in the Navy like his mom did, and he's over in Japan. I'm very proud of him. I miss him. Kyle is 26, and Kyle's a math teacher. Don't know where he got that from because I hate math. And Ryan is my first, and I grew up with Ryan. I had Ryan when I was 17. Wow. And so I was going through a lot when I had Ryan, and I look at him, and it's so funny when he's like, Ma, you're getting older. I'll be like, don't forget, I'm only 17 years older than you, because you're getting old too. But I learned how to be a mom. I joke, but I was literally a teenager who knew nothing, and I came home, and I had so many questions. And, sometimes that motherly feeling, it's not innate. It doesn't just automatically come. And so a lot of chaos in my life, but I've had to be a tough mom. I had 3 boys. I had to be strict, with certain things. But I love all my children. I'm very, again, I think my motherhood style is sort of organic. I want them to be who they were meant to be. I want to provide a container of safety, of protection, of help, of support, of love for them to feel that they could be whoever it is they feel they were meant to be. And I'm proud of all my children for many different reasons. I love who they are. They're all very different, but they're all mine. And, I tell them, I have very frank conversations with them. Right. I let them know there were times where there were times where we didn't. There were ups and there were downs, and been very candid. Especially, I just had the conversation with Ryan in the realm of mental health. Right. There were times where I was battling being depressed, and I was trying to hide it from them. And I wish I had talked more about it with them, where I talk about it now. But I encourage them, get help when you need it. Even if it's help from things that I may have done as a mother or things that we may have experienced growing up, get help. And I want you to feel comfortable doing that.
That's so powerful to give them those kind of tools.
Yeah.
I work in behavioral health, so that part is near and dear to me, especially as we talk about ending stigma as it relates to mental health or just mental health care.
Yep.
So I love that is a conversation that you're having to normalize that.
Yep.
And to atone for any mistakes that you have made in your process. I think.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's so different, I think, than my mother, because, my mother would be like, why are you going to tell your business to? Why are you going to tell it? Nope, I'm going to tell our business, and I'm going to get help for it. And I hope you do too, Mom. Yeah. But also to provide that safety so the kids don't have to hide it and they feel okay with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think mental health care is so important, especially for women in our positions.
Absolutely.
To be able to release and get new coping skills and all the things. So hats off to you for that. So let's see. It was something you said I wanted to circle back to. Oh, you were talking about social media. I had a social media question.
Oh, yeah.
How do you navigate how you show up on social media as a senior level executive?
Yeah.
Because that part is so weird.
I'm kind of old fashioned.
Right.
When people apply for jobs with me, the first place I go to is their social media, right? And I want people, I've always talked about authentic self and everything. There's been times where I wanted to go on Facebook and have a tyrant and cuss, and things like that.
On a rant.
I just don't, I just don't want that there. I don't knock anybody else who does it. But I try to be very positive. I try to be very direct. Where I am, I have sort of taken a turn. I don't get involved in any politics. If I like, I like. If, I like your stat, I like your stat and things like that. But I don't want to, I try to have a positive presence. But my personal page, I try not to put too much on there. Yeah.
Yeah, at that level, that could be a little risky, and people they start to think they know you, and they don't if you
Oh,
share a little too
oh,
much.
that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you share too much. I mean, I share happy things. I share stuff about my kids. I share positive things. But especially now in the world being politically so divisive, I mean, I think everybody knows where I land on the political spectrum,
yeah,
right? And who I support and who I don't support,
right,
right? It's no secret who I'm going to be voting for president,
right.
right? But I'm not about to get in and criticize it. And especially still being in a diversity title, we see the backlash against DEI titles right
I was
now.
gonna ask you. Yes, that was
Yep,
on my
that's
list.
huge.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna give you a stick to crack my head open as much as possible.
right,
Yeah.
right. What are you? How are you having conversations, or what are your thoughts on this attack on DEI positions, and
Yeah.
how do we safeguard against that, and what can organizations do and leaders do?
Well, so, I'm in a lot of groups with other diversity professionals. I'm in a privileged position. I'm in the state of New York. I'm in probably the second most liberal state
Right,
in the country, right?
right,
So I'm somewhat protected. I've always, and I've told you this as a diversity professional, I always keep it on the I perspective. I'm not a diversity police. I mean, obviously, we want people to be in compliance with the laws, and the laws are what the laws are. But even in terms of bias, when I'm talking, I'm very careful. I'll give examples about my own biases, right? Based in my mother's mother came here from Alabama. What did those kitchen table conversations look like? My grandmother was born in 1928 in Alabama. Her experiences were what they were.
right.
So I have to tackle my biases. So I always give my examples, and I hope that inspires somebody else to challenge or look at their own biases. But it's tough, and
so
people
tough.
don't want to, what I'm not going to allow and what I'm not going to stand for is this revisionist history, this nonsense about we don't want to teach African-American history. We don't want to teach Black history, however you want to refer to it. We don't want to teach about disparities, and we want to act like, one of the most ridiculous is like slaves enjoyed slavery and it was so good then.
Ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. We're not about to do that.
And it's dangerous.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So, I'm going to stand firm in my voice about that, but I have a job to do. Want to make sure we have an inclusive culture at Roswell where if there are people that are violating the law, they're going to be held to that standard. And the law is what the law is.
I love that.
Yeah.
So thinking about, we know that you are all about attract, manifest, repeat.
Yeah.
And so we know that you are a visionary and always imagining what's next.
Yeah.
As much as you're willing to share, tell us what you see, Crystal professionally 5 years, Crystal as a mama 5 years. What are your hopes for the future?
Professionally, I'm not sure. I don't know that I'll be done at Roswell with what the work I have to do. So,
we don't even have to say 5 years. We'll just say, your hopes for.
Well, attract, manifest, repeat. So that goes to along my journey, I really did adapt the law of attraction. And having grown up on the east side of Buffalo, I didn't see a lot of lawyers, judges, professionals that look like me, right?
Who are single moms or in teenage moms.
Yeah. I had a lot of, that, but I really started learning that if I changed my mindset, I changed my life, and seeing my own limiting beliefs, right? I remember when I told my grandmother, I was thinking I was going to go to law school, and she patted me on the head and she said that was cute. And, it was just basically this idea, get a job at GM and
you got a job at GM, or you got a job with the state or the city, which you did end up doing the city, but
I did end up doing the city.
You take your civil service test.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So the law of attraction really changed my life. If I could change my way of thinking. So I learned that a lot of the hardships, a lot of the obstacles that I had in my life were self-inflicted because I was attracting what I had in my own life. So I had to clean that up. And then learning how to manifest, to really think about what it is, where it is you want to be, and visualizing it. And I know it sounds like so corny, but
it's so real, though.
It is so real to sit there and really think about it. I totally manifested the deputy mayor job.
Did you?
Totally. I one day, sat in the office and was like, I'm gonna sit at this desk one day. And I did. And then repeating that in every aspect of your life. So I do see that being bigger. One day recently,
Tell us more,
I
because
got trademark.
we skimmed over Attract,
Oh,
Manifest, Repeat.
so
I mentioned it, but we didn't talk
no.
about it. Tell us
Sorry.
more.
So Attract, Manifest, Repeat is my trademark. It's I guess it's sort of going to be, it's morphing into a coaching type of philosophy, positive, putting things out there to help people really attract what it is that they want to do, manifest it, and repeat it in every area of their life. That's my slogan. I've got a trademark. The next trademark is Make Happy Happen.
I love that.
And I've got that recently trademarked. The application is in. And
so can you talk about that yet? Are you able to talk about
so that's sort of like a subset of Attract, Manifest, Repeat.
Okay.
Another thing that I learned on the journey in terms of the law of attraction is that, you know, as long as we're always looking to external factors to make us happy, we'll always be unhappy, right? I make me happy.
Love that.
People, friendships, relationships, my husband, my children, they enhance my happiness, right? But happiness starts with me. So I got to make happy happen.
Yes.
And so this has been just sort of my own little personal thing to sort of kind of show people how I made the shift and how I changed and what I used to do it. And it's still biblical, right? I'm just claiming it's what I've learned, but we can have love and happiness down here. We don't have to have this long suffering until I get to heaven. And then I get it, right? I could be happy here. And also trying to change the mindset in terms of abundance. It's okay, right? I don't know if you noticed, growing up, I had this. I mean, I don't know if you did, but it would be like, money is the root of all evil. That's not what that says. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. So it is okay to want to have an abundant life, right? And to make that happen. So those are just sort of things that I've done on the side that have helped me get to where I am. And I just try and share a little bit. I had a retreat. Jamil was a part of the retreat. I'm bringing that back this year. Wonderful. I'll tell a little bit about that. So I'm going to do a birthday brunch the weekend of July. It's just going to be a relaunch of Attract, Manifest, Repeat. And I'm really going to do a whole day of just exponential coaching of mapping out what it is you want in life and the steps so you can get there.
That's beautiful.
I'm going to do it the whole day.
That's beautiful.
And we're going to wake up Sunday and celebrate my birthday.
Well, as we get closer to it, you'll have to come back on the podcast so we can talk about it again and make sure people know about it.
Yep.
Before we close out, we know that there are other moms in senior leadership positions who are listening to this. If you can, give us maybe some of your life hacks or things that you use either at work or at home to just make things easier for you every day.
Take things day by day as much as possible. I mean, you have to have a long-term plan, but take it day by day. Surround yourself with people that motivate you and are honest with you, and give yourself grace. There are days where I wake up and I'm just a little badass, and there are days where I'm like, okay, when the best day today? It's okay.
And it might vary throughout the day.
That's true. That is true. But give yourself grace and understand that that's going to happen.
That's great. It was so good talking to you. I feel like I learned something new every time we sit down and talk. So your story is so amazing. You are such an inspiration to so many people.
Thanks, Shay.
Well, thank you so much.
Anytime.
I appreciate you. Well, that is a wrap for episode 1 of The C-Suite Mama. Please check us out on Facebook at The C-Suite Mama and follow us on Instagram.